month. It's on record where every word matters. And today's episode will be a little bit different because I'm doing it with Esther Kalu. Good morning, Esther.
Good morning, Krumalen. How are you doing this Monday morning?
I'm fine. Now, let's move on to the business of the day. And I'm sure you're all aware on record. We discussed the actions, the inactions of government, ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as business and health affairs that shape our worldview. The program also encapsulates personalities and institutions that make decisions that affect the lives of people one way or the other. And then we avail you, our listeners, the opportunity of calling into the program and ask questions from our guests on the topic of discussion. Experts now recommend that avoiding the term fake news, or at least limiting its use, as the term fake news is closely associated with politics, and this association can be unhelpfully narrowing the focus of the issue. They propose that the term misinformation or false information is preferable, as it can refer to a diverse range of misinformation and disinformation covering topics such as health, environmental, and economics across all platforms and genres, while fake news is more narrowly understood as political news stories. Well, let's move on and see what the experts still said concerning this. There's lots of things you read online, especially in social media feeds, may appear to be true. Often it may not be true. False information is news or stories created to deliberately misinform or deceive readers. Usually, these stories are created to either influence people's views, push a political agenda, or cause confusion, and can often be profitable business for online publishers. A false information can deceive people by looking like trusted websites or using similar names and web addresses of reputable news organizations. The internet has enabled a whole new way to publish, share, and consume information and news with very little regulation or editorial standards. Many people now get news from social media sites and networks, and often it can be difficult to tell whether stories are credible or not. And guess what? Social media sites can play a big part of increasing the reach of these types of stories. Now, we cannot completely lay down the premise for today's conversation without touching on artificial intelligence. During the data privacy protection trial of Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, it told the United States Congress that Facebook would use artificial intelligence to detect fake news posted on social media sites. Now, despite the veracity of that claim, though with some basic potential flaws, artificial intelligence, popularly called AI, can be a useful tool for spotting online propaganda, but it can also be an excellent tool for creating misleading materials. Now, the purpose of these stories are created to deliberately mislead audiences, promote a biased point of view, or promote a particular political agenda or cause. This weekend, 1st of April 2023, Twitter was abuzz with reactions over a particular audio clip that was posted, allegedly claiming that a presidential candidate of one of the political parties and the clergy were discussing campaign plans for the just concluded 2023 presidential elections. You may have heard of the fake news, disinformation, and artificial intelligence, but now we have deepfake. What does it mean? Deepfake, is it another name for fake news? Our focus today is fake news, propaganda, and artificial intelligence. And my guest today is Samuel Nzekwe, a driven and multifaceted software engineer student at the Code University of Applied Sciences in Berlin, Germany, with a diverse background in interaction design, product management, data science, and physics. He possesses a unique perspective on the intersection of media and technology. Samuel's passion for the impact of technology on media has led him to work on various projects where he leverages his skills and experience to create innovative solutions, and is currently a working student at the Free Tech Academy of Journalism and Technology in Berlin, where he is using his expertise to drive the development of cutting-edge technologies for the media industry. Is Samuel Nzekwe. He is a media software engineer and a tech journalist. Well, Esther,
Yes, please.
yeah, you want to say something about the guest that we got today and the topic we will be taking on?
Well, I think that first the topic has gotten us to the point where we need to now verify information beyond sources. So normally, as a journalist, how I verify information is different from how those who are not trained verify information, and especially when there are no regulations around those who are not trained. Earlier on the newspaper review, I was telling Sarah that I attended the advertisers industry colloquium just on Thursday last week, and the stakeholders kept saying something. They said not just one person said that everyone is now a journalist, even though not licensed. As long as you have a phone, you can report from wherever you are, even though not licensed. So that statement kept me concerned, because the not being licensed has caused us to see some news that have made people take decisions. At the end of the day, you hear, oh, it was just fake news. It was just fake news. So if fake news or disinformation or misinformation, whichever way it comes, if these things spread without effects, it won't have been a problem. But people take actions, decisions are made, just because of this. Conversations, heated arguments come up just from things like this. So it's important that we look into it. And I thought, getting us a guest would be someone who is in the space as a journalist and who is also looking at how to work on these things, even as a tech expert. So,
all right, thank you, Esther. Now let's take a break, and when we return from this break, we'll have our guest who is a software engineer and a tech journalist join us on the program to dissect the issue and to discuss how the tendency, how fake news erupts and how it spreads fast, and the purpose of those who created those supposedly misleading materials and their utmost agenda. Who's gonna break when we return? It's on record where every word matters. Do stay with us.
On record,
every word matters.
If it's public opinion, expert analysis, information that matters to you, we have it on record. Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. on High Impact 102.1 FM. Call us 0700-1021-1021. WhatsApp 0907-224-5018.
Do you know bad production can kill a great content idea?
Do you want to have a photo shoot, audio production, or do you need a professional voiceover artist?
Do you simply want unmatched cinematography, video production, or just event coverage, such as weddings, birthdays, or burials?
Or do you need a space for meetings or conferences? All these are possible with High Impact Studios. Don't bring down your creativity, let's help you take it high.
And out of this world with our state-of-the-art equipment and first-class studio space.
We give you the quality you deserve at the best rate.
For more details, call 0706 393 5694 or 0915 958 1881. High Impact Studios, the future.
Put a touch of class and finesse on your brand by advertising with us at High Impact 1021 FM. For more information, call
0706 393 5694, 0915 958 1881, or 0902 745 3931.
Follow us on our social media platforms at High Impact 1021 FM. Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
Our deals are hotter than the weather itself.
On record,
every word matters.
Welcome back, and many thanks for joining us on the program. It's on record where every word matters. Like I said earlier on, our guest is joining us, and is joining us from Berlin, Germany. He's a software engineer and a tech journalist. His name is Samuel Nzekwe. Good morning, Samuel. Many thanks for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Lagos. It's a pleasure to join from all the way from Germany. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Now, Samuel, I'm glad I'm speaking to a professional in this, as in the field of what we're talking about today. So let me ask the question that it's already on call this morning. What's simply, first of all, the words that come in is a fake news, and then the word misinformation followed, and of course these words have been existing before now. Then we heard the word misinformation, and now with the emergence of artificial intelligence, there's another word, and it's called deep fake. So I don't know if all these words, if they mean the same thing, or they don't actually mean the same thing. So I needed to just maybe dissect these words for us. Let's know where exactly they fit in.
Okay, thank you very much. It's a very interesting time that we're living in, but I would like to mention that lies, manipulation, and deception have accompanied mankind since the beginning of time. I think it's nothing new. But I think Donald Trump really popularized the entire phrase of fake news, and we saw him try to use it to actually discredit the media a lot of the time in the United States. And I think it's now become a normal thing for politicians to always cast aspersion against the media. We've seen the media try to fight for their credibility across the world in recent times. And I think this is not something new. The whole thing about fake news could be traced as far back as the 1247 BC.
Okay.
And I think it was probably the first fake news campaign in history. It tells the story of when the Egyptians, after they lost the great battle of Kadesh,
okay.
I think they defeated Pharaoh Ramses II. He rewrote the entire story according to his own ideas. He had poems written that celebrated him as victorious, and carvings done in the walls of his temples that depicted decisive scenes of the battles. He tried to really portray the battle which he lost, in the sense that, he won the battle and he decimated his opponents. And I think so this is something that has stayed with man right from time. I only think that the means have only become even more sophisticated because with the arrival of the printing press in the 15th century, the means and the manner in which information and news was being created and disseminated from the source to the addressees actually became more sophisticated, and it became more instant. Before the printing press, someone who wanted to send a message to a group of people, you had to literally carve them in special objects, and you had to address them to a particular person. But with the invention of the printing press in the 15th century, it brought significant change in history, because from then on, news could be reproduced without having to be laboriously copied by hand. You could basically just write it once, and you could, multiply the effects and just mass produce it within a space of time. And the speed of this production also doubled after the printing press. We saw cases where the internet came in 1993, and of course, we saw the use of the printing press and its capabilities even during the German War, where in 1870. I think it was the German Chancellor Otto von, if I'm not mistaken, Otto von Bismarck, who distorted the facts to drive the German Empire into war with France. And what did he do basically? He edited the text of a letter from the French government to the German Emperor. He edited that text so that it appeared that France had attacked him. And the manipulation worked because it sort of led Germany straight into war with France. And these are the kind of things that is currently happening, although they are now more sophisticated, they are now more instant, and they are now more capable of deceiving many at a greater scale. And after the arrival of the internet, of course, before the arrival of the internet, we had film and television in the 19th and 20th century, which again brought further innovation. It created more means for informing people, but at the same time, it also created even more possible means for disinforming people. So
Okay.
fake news has always been a thing with us from the onset, where we as human beings actually started forming our little social nucleus. Most people amongst us learned to both use the means of information as a tool and as a means of also misinforming and disinforming people. And so I think it's all the same thing, whether you do it by just changing a little text on a piece of paper as far back as the 19th century, or you do it by inserting things that are not true in between a media or a television broadcast in the 20th century, or you decide to now employ artificial intelligence using deep learning, as we have seen in modern times. I think the goal and the aim is all the same thing. You're trying to deceive people. You're trying to paint a picture that doesn't exist.
Okay, thank you for that little background and the history you brought about. But I see that from the history that you brought about from the hieroglyph period to the printing press, then to to the television. I see that things about fake news, misinformation, and disinformation, the particular word and the usage keep reflecting. But that of deep fake, it seems like a new emergence. And it's here not just because of the internet, but because of another dimension where the internet is heading, and which is the artificial intelligence. No, we've come to understand that artificial intelligence could be a very, very vital means. Where during the introduction of the program, I was reading out, I made people understand that there was a particular time the United States Congress invited the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, for data protection conversation, where while he was defending that, he told them that artificial intelligence can be deployed to detect fake news. But he also acknowledged that this particular artificial intelligence, can be used to, in the hands of those who are very, very adept in its use, can use it to fabricate other materials that even artificial intelligence will find it difficult. And it looks as if that's where the word deep fake emerged. So is there that existence of the word deep fake? Can it be attributed to artificial intelligence, and why is that?
Yes. So the word deepfake it was coined to as a reference to any media content. It could be audio, it could be video.
Okay.
Any media content that has been synthetically generated by the use or aid of any form of artificial intelligence.
Okay.
And it's part of the work we do here at the Free Tech Academy of Axel Springer here in Germany. And in 2021, we actually took a very special project where we took time to create deepfakes of popular German politicians, where they said and did things they never did or said.
Okay.
And the whole goal of the program or of the project was to actually see if people can actually detect deepfakes, and if people actually were able to discern that this thing was not real. And the results were shocking. So by deepfake, something can only be considered a deepfake. Any media content, be it video, be it audio, it's only a deepfake if and only if the use of artificial intelligence has been employed to create that content, right? So things like photoshopping, where I just change the pictures, or things like color imaging, where I just use editing softwares to do it, those cannot be considered as deepfake. They are considered as shallow fakes, right? Because in that case, you are not using artificial intelligence. You're not employing any form of artificial intelligence to actually create those contents. And yes, the Facebook CEO actually made a very critical point when he said that you could use AI to detect AI.
Yes.
But then you see it as a cat and mouse thing, and that's actually how the technology works. It's called the generative adversarial neural network. And what actually happens is you've got a generator, and then you've got a detector, and then you feed the generator with maybe a video, thousands of images of somebody, or a video, and you split it into seconds.
Okay.
And then what the generator does is it tries to go through all of those thousands of images or thousands of visual data that you've given it. And then the detector tries to detect a fault in what the generator has done.
Okay.
And then when the detector detects a fault, it passes the fault back to the generator, and then the generator gets better with every iteration. So you kind of see that it's a cat and mouse thing. Yes, he is right. You could use the generator to detect a deepfake content, but then the instant you detect it, then it becomes possible to again train the generator to create something that the detector can no longer detect. So it becomes a back and forth thing. The more better we are at using technology to detect deepfakes, the more better the creators of deepfake get better at creating even more sophisticated results. So it's kind of a cat and mouse thing, and the problem for the modern age is to find something that breaches this cat and mouse back and forth thing, because then it becomes, which one comes first? Is it the chicken or the egg? And most people will tell you, oh, it's the chicken. The others will say, oh, it's the egg. But I think for us who are in this space, the way we would like to think about it is that perhaps the egg, the chicken is the solution by the egg to just keep existing. Maybe it's the egg that invented the chicken, and then just for the purpose of continuous existence. So it calls for a different perspective in thinking about these solutions. But yes, he is right. We are currently embroidered in. It's a very complicated situation, because the more you think you found a solution to detect a fake media content, the instant you are also sure you've also invented something to circumvent it.
All right, Mr. Samuel, I want us to. I like the fact that your professional, you're giving us professional knowledge on this, but I equally want to marry it together because of our time with politics in Nigeria. And how heated the argument and the polity is at the moment. So I was going to ask the purpose and the intention of those who mastermind or who develop these materials, and what their intentions to achieve. Because even while they develop these intentions, or they do this, they intend to equally consider the people that they are going to be spreading these materials to consume, and the intelligence, the mental capacity of these persons to be able to read through the lines to catch those who manufactured this materials too should be put into consideration. So would you say in Nigeria are we very, very gullible to consume something like this, to consume anything that is emanating from that particular province of fake news, or it's just that we are being led because of our biases? Because I'm taking this to your other professional aspect as a journalist.
So to answer that question, I would like to take us back to the era of the First World War between, I think, 1914 and 1918, and that's to answer the question of why these people are doing this. I think the First World War went down in history as what we would call the War of Words. And in terms of media, it also developed as a war of images, right? They were considered realistic images of reality and displaced, like we saw images of displaced people, outdated battle pictures from newspapers. But many of the images were taken out of context or deliberately manipulated. And one critical example was that by Frank Hawley. It shows Australian soldiers storming out of their trenches to repel German planes. But the truth about that image is that Hawley had put it together from 12 separate pictures from 12 different scenes. So he had just collected tiny bits of little pictures and assembled them together to form that singular picture. And the entire purpose was to actually paint a picture that, okay, the Australian soldiers were either, fighting for their city, fighting for their state, as against painting the German rebels as people that were callous and who just wanted to storm their opponent. So when it comes to misinformation, disinformation, and of course the employment of deepfake, I do not, even in modern societies, like in developed societies. Recently, I think in 2022, the CEO of a company that it's called the CEO scam, over £243,000 were stolen, where criminals used deepfake, employed the use of deepfake, and then they called the financial person in a company and then told them that, I'm the CEO, transfer this amount of money right now to this account. And without verifying, The finance person moved the money, and you can't blame the company for not setting up the right communication channel.
Okay.
Right? Because if there were right communication channel, then of course the financial person should say, okay, I just got a phone call. Who is the next person I need to confirm this? Confirm this. It's chain of communication. But instantly they moved the money, and it later confirmed that look, this was a deep fake of the CEO of the company, and that's how the company lost £243,000. And even very recently, Ukraine fell for deepfakes again. Shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine, we expected that the Ukrainian soldiers would storm and fight. But I mean, a few days later, we saw Vladimir Zelensky coming up on Ukraine national TV and telling them, "Oh, drop your arms and go back to your family." And only a few hours later, people realized that, oh my God, this was actually a deepfake. And it took the combined efforts of Zelensky himself. And of course, I think the chief European media cybersecurity expert to actually debunk that, look, this is actually a deepfake. So Nigerians and our political society right now, we are at risk of misinformation, disinformation, and of course, general fake news that are deliberately put out there by political actors. And these things we cannot just say, oh my God, we can detect these things and Nigeria can detect these things. I think we are vulnerable. We are very, very vulnerable at this time, honestly.
Okay, Samuel, thank you for that background information.
Thank you for all you have told us so far, so good. But let me go down to the layman here. Give me your personal experience with fake news, disinformation, or misinformation. My experience, and the first time I knew that this is a battle I would love to fight, is at an orientation camp. I went for NYSC. That's the first time I'm going to that kind of remote part where you know I am offline for some time. I think I was using a BlackBerry then, and at those camps you don't have access to your phone being powered all the time. Sometimes you are offline most of the time. And so there was a rumor of, it's not just a rumor, there was news of Ebola in Nigeria. And, you know, we didn't have so much information. We're just told that there is a new disease in town, start using salt to have your bath. Now, that's my personal experience with it. And by the time I came out of camp, I realized that I didn't even know half of what happened. So if that, virus had gotten into that space, a lot of us would have just gone down. So a lot of people listening to me right now can remember one time or the other where they've heard something fake, something, and even Ponzi schemes come up this way. But let me hear your personal experience, if you've had any, with disinformation, misinformation, or even fake news generally.
So for me personally, I think it was when I had just finished uni. I remember I had some very few savings at a very known Nigerian bank.
Okay.
And we woke up one morning and there was this WhatsApp group messages that people were just forwarding across WhatsApp channels. And it stated that, oh, if you had money in this bank, go pull it out. The bank was folding, the government was taking over, they were owing. And you could see a bank run happen that morning. And I went to the bank and, oh my God, people like me all lined up and everybody wanted to take their money. And in the end, it turned out that, look, this was just a normal corporate takeover where banks were merging and everything was okay. Your money wasn't going anywhere. But then the manner in which it was painted was that, oh, if you had your money here, it's gone, it's gone and it's going. And I think that was my first major striking experience. But and it interested me how someone could basically, and of course the next one was the news from I think a section of the country where they were saying the president was dead, and they had these images of analysis. Oh, look at his ear. This is not the ear of the president that I knew 4 years ago, and that kind of thing. And it deceived a lot of people, right? So I think these are some and it was at that point I actually took interest on technologies that were at the intersection of media and technology. Like I really wanted to go into information sciences and really understand what made up information, what made it significant, and why it really had the power to inform people, but at the same time, what informed you also possessed the power to disinform and misinform if used rightly. So yeah, those were my significant points of, I was like, we need to start looking into these things, especially now that technology is becoming mainstream and everybody right now literally can produce a deepfake.
Yeah,
right?
that's another worry.
Is out there.
That's another concern.
The technology is out there. Exactly.
All right. Thank you very much. Samuel, please stay on the line. We want to tell our listeners that our phone lines are open. We seem to be opening the phone lines a little bit late, but we actually wanted to lay a very strong premise and foundation for listeners to be able to call into the program. Do remember that the lines to call 0700 1021 1021, and that is 0700 1021 1021. You can send in WhatsApp messages to 0907224518. That's 0907224518. We have a few minutes before we go on break at the moment. So, Mr. Samuel, let's bring it in. Let me still talk about, because recently we just concluded the 2023 presidential National Assembly elections, and on the 18th of March, we equally rounded up the gubernatorial and state house of assembly elections. Now, the Minister of the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Issa Pantami, disclosed to Nigerians during the election that the country experienced about 12.9 million cyber attacks during the presidential elections. 12.9 million. Now, I do not know the feasibility of that, but it's coming from an authority, which is the Minister of Communications and Digital Economy. 12.9 million for an election that was conducted that only had the participation of about 25 million. That communicates the impression that for every 2 people that cast their votes, there is there is one cyber attack. How possible is that?
So I don't know why or what importance is the data of voters that would warrant 12.9 million attacks. And again, it depends on how the communication chief is measuring it, and of course it depends on what he classifies as a cyber attack.
Okay.
Because cyber attacks, for instance, if I decide to crack your password, let's say I'm trying to find out the password of your bank app or something, there is, of course, for instance, if you have a 4-digit password, let's say 0123, the probability of me finding what the total combination of your password is would mean that I would need to do it 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 times. It's called 4 factorial. So the number of steps I need to, it's called brute force approach. So if we want to come down to the basic level where I say, I want to log into your phone, but I need to do it with a brute force approach, and you've just used 4 digits, I need to do it 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1. So if he says it's 12.9 million attacks, then the question becomes, how are you measuring these things? How did you measure it? Are you considering like brute force approaches? Did you count? So for instance, if I do 1 brute force attack, are you counting it as 1, or are you counting the 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 times I did it? Then, but I am guessing that's what he's counting, the 4 times, 3 times, 2 times, 1 times somebody must have attacked the server. So I wouldn't say he's lying. I would only say that I would like to know the yardsticks for his measurements and why he classifies them as deliberate cyber attacks. Yes.
All right. Yes, Esther. But before we come in, let's briefly go on a break, Mr. Samuel. Let's briefly go on a break. Yes. So when we return, we'll take our conversation to the next level, and we'll be talking more about that audio that surfaced yesterday that has caused Twitter to be a buzz. And in fact, in the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning, it is explicitly stated there. And one word that stuck out from that, one of the writers of that story says, religious war, which is not something that Nigeria does not want at this point in time, and we are looking at exploring every means to douse that particular tension. So let's go on a break, and when we return, it's on record where every word matters. To stay with us.
If it's public opinion, expert analysis, information that matters to you, we have it on record Mondays to Fridays, 9 a.m. on High Impact 102.1 FM. Call us 0700-1021-1021. WhatsApp 0907-224-5018.
Let's bring the party to you in your comfort zone. Food, drinks, music, and all kinds of fun fare are now available for fun lovers on Aria Express. Every Saturday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. only on High Impact 102.1 FM.
Well, this Saturday, they will know we show up. Me, I am ready for the party. Oh yeah, I want to be smart. I go really early. Oh, I know your story.
Welcome back and many thanks for joining us on the program. It's on record where every word matters. Our conversation this morning has been with Samuel Nzekwe. He's a software engineer and tech journalist. We have been looking at the conversation, software, fake news, propaganda, and artificial intelligence, and that is not unconnected to recently the audio tape that emerged on social media, where we've been getting different perspective and to the topic of conversation. So as for you out there, our listeners, tell us, what have you come across? Have you had an encounter with fake news? And if you have had an encounter with any, how did you overcome it? How did you respond? Were you part of those that forwarded to the next WhatsApp group or to the next person there, or you just you were able to detect it and you passed on? My conversation once again has been with Samuel Nzekwe, a software engineer and tech expert, a tech journalist, and I'm having the conversation with him, with Esther Kalu. So let's go on to the main crux of the conversation. When have you listened to that audio, Mr. Samuel?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so I needed to tell us about your impression about that particular audio. Now, putting into consideration not just only the deep fake or the tendency of that, or you can equally put into consideration the political atmosphere in Nigeria, the tendency for unscrupulous elements to want to foment such to produce such material to cause disaffection or division, or maybe something that is contrary to that. I just want to get your position on that.
Okay, so information sciences has been something I've been very, very interested in for a long time now, and it's so unfortunate. In the Nigerian context, in an African society, most people believe that whenever a news or something bad is said about someone, the best way to treat or handle that situation is always to keep quiet. I think it's a bad play, according to information science.
Okay.
For instance, the CJN, there was a rumor recently that he flew to London to meet with the president-elect Tinubu, and he didn't come out to debunk that claim. And most people was like, oh, why should he come out? Oh, if he comes out to say anything, then he gives credibility to the claims. But in my perspective, and speaking as an individual, I think it was a bad play that he did not debunk that news. I think he played right into the gallery by not coming out. He should have a chief communications officer, somebody who takes it upon themselves to say, okay, look, coming directly from the CJN, these informations are not true. Simple debunk and just neutralize that thing at that point. Because at the point where we are as a country, every single information that has a connection with the elections or afterwards or whatever happens afterwards is quite very important.
Samuel, let me butt in. So if the CGN had a media aide who came out to debunk that information, is that enough to say that, yes, indeed, he was not there or he's there? Personally, if throughout the period where we were waiting for the elections, if I get any information from INEC, there were predictions that the elections will be postponed. You know, that's the presidential election. I know how to go to INEC's website. I know how to make my way to their social media handles that are verified and all of that. But until I see that information from INEC, I do not even blink. I do not even act like I have heard that there's going to be. If I see that there's a rumor about it, except the paper carries it and I'm on a newspaper review, I read it as what the paper published. But is the CJN's media aid coming out to say that's a rumor? Is that enough to debunk or to make the people who got that information know that it is false or not? Don't you think there are some people who are adamant and who insist that that is not enough to convince them?
So, thank you very much. So the thing is, if you were living in, let's say, the 1950s, then his silence or the silence of his team would have been regarded as, you know, something really, really sacrosanct, something that preserves his integrity as the CJN we understand, right?
Okay.
But you are living in an era where scalability is a problem. The internet has become, I mean, look, walking up into the election, most people said the obedience movement was 4 people tweeting from a room, but we saw the impact they had on the elections. And this is entirely an organic movement that was galvanized by nothing else but social media. And that's scalability. One person sits in the room, makes a tweet, and 24 hours later, it's gone half around the globe. So when you're dealing with scalability and the speed with which information drives, you need to stop it. You need to confront it at the early stages and not just keep mute. I'll give you a simple instance. When the video of Zelensky popped up on a national TV after the war started, right? What did Zelensky do? He took to the media immediately and he debunked it. He made people see that, look, this thing was a fake. It's not real. But that content went to, it spread. Before he knew it, it was on all phones. He would have said, I shouldn't think about that. I shouldn't give it credibility by responding. Because if he had done that, if he had kept quiet, trust me, by now the war wouldn't be the state in which it is. Because Ukrainian soldiers would have dropped their arms and gone home. It had a consequential impact. His silence had a consequential impact if he kept quiet. And that's exactly the same thing which we are seeing in Nigeria, where you have an opponent that has gone to court to challenge the outcome of a general election, and you are the CJN, you would be presiding over this case, and there is a rumor that says you went to London to see a supposedly president-elect, and you met with him, and you kept quiet. What I expected the CJN to do was come out and say, look, these are all misinformation, they are propaganda, we never did that, we never did that. You are accountable to the Nigerian people. You are not on a high horse. Nigerian people, you are accountable to them. And the instant we no longer trust whatever is coming from your office, it's a problem, not just for you, but for the entire country at large. So information sciences is a critical thing at this point for Nigeria, right? And back to the video.
Yes, please.
I see a lot of efforts made by the All Progressive Congress to make it look like, oh, you see that we've done that tape, we've done that video, we've passed it through test, fact checkers have gone against it and have confirmed that it was not a deep fake. Again, remember, I said a deep fake is a deep fake because it was made by AI, right? There was an input of AI to generate that media content.
Okay.
But that audio we heard, I think Festus Keyamo on Twitter, he had it as a big tweet saying that, oh, the fact checkers have confirmed it and this is not a deepfake. And when I read the fact check reports, because I was curious, I was like, okay, these guys used a tool called deepware.ai to check if this thing was a deepfake or not. But when you take the documents, the official docs of the Deepware AI tool, they will tell you categorically clear that we are not able to detect audios. We cannot tell if an audio has been AI generated or not. What we can only tell you is a video. And in this case, we are dealing with an audio, and if fact checkers have used Deepware to check if this thing is a deep fake or not. Of course, the tool will tell you it is not a deep fake, because what you passed in is not a video data. You passed it an audio data, and this is a tool that has been designed to validate video content, video data. You understand?
All right, Mr. Samuel, I need you to take that again because I want that to sink in very, very well. You said you mentioned a particular internet facility that can be used. That's AI facility that can be used to check if a particular document or stuff is deep fake, and that it cannot work for audio. It can only work for video. So
exactly.
Give us the name of that again and take it again, please. Probably
it's called deepware.ai, right? According to the information that was posted by the so-called fact checkers, I think is the Foundation for International Journalism. When I read that document from Keyamo, they said that the tool was deepware.ai, and they confirmed that that audio was not a deep fake, which meant that Peter Obi and Bishop Oyedepo all had that conversation in that context, the words they used, right? Now, Deepware itself is a tool. It was made by scientists, technologists, data scientists for the purpose of what? Discovering what was made, maybe identifying a deep fake, right? That was the main purpose of Deepware.ai. But they were clear in their official docs. They made it clear that their tool does not tell you whether an audio is a deep fake or not. Their tool would only tell you whether a video is a deep fake or not. So this is a tool that requires a certain type of data to produce a certain type of result. If you feed it the wrong type of data, you are going to get the wrong type of result because it has not been configured to work on that type of data you have fed it. And so if you have an audio document that people have said, this audio media, is it a deep fake or not? And you are using a tool that is totally used for detecting video content, and you are passing audio to it, of course the result you will get is a total, oh no, there is no deepfake. But that does not validate that the content itself lacks a deepfake. It only validates that the method you have used in trying to detect if this is a deepfake or not is false. Right? And again, this goes into the line of misinformation and disinformation. Every angle, every department in this public conversation are refusing to take an independent opinion here. They are all looking for things that corroborate their position, and they are pushing it out there in full force. There is a propaganda machinery both on the APC side, the PDP side, and of course the Labour Party side. But if you are really an independent person, you need to take all of these sources and independently look at it. If you need to find, I understand that is a difficult thing to do right now. But I mean, looking at Festus' opinion here, I was like, whoa, really? And he was pushing it on Twitter, making it look like, oh, fact checkers have confirmed it, this thing is true. But then you take a look at the tool that has been used, and you realize that the information passed in was not what it was designed to do. So these are very salient, important points, right?
Samuel, let me butt in. So you are the professional and you are able to check that out. The rest of Twitter, I mean, Nigerians mostly, who are not professionals, who are not political supporters, who are just living their everyday life now, how do they verify? Because when I saw that tweet from Festus, I felt like, could this be true, right? And if I did not have this conversation with you, the idea of having this conversation with you was to even enlighten us, and enlighten those that are listening, to say this is how to spot these things. Now, I mean, when I just saw the summary of, it's like maths for those who don't love maths. When there is a maths assignment, you probably want to go to the end and just get the results at the end and not really check the entire details if you're not a lover of mathematics, right? But for those that love maths, they go into those details. So what would you tell those of us who don't know what you're talking about or who don't understand how to check?
So again, there is voice deepfake, there is body puppeting, and there is face swapping. These are all different degrees of misinformation engineered to just deceive you and make you believe something they want you to believe. I cannot say, right, the video, the audio, I've listened to it, but if you watch what Peter Obi has done, the instant that was a thing, he came out and debunked it. right? That's what I expect our political actors, although it's a difficult thing to do, but that's why you have a team. You need to keep Nigerians constantly, what is your stand on this thing? What is your stand? You don't just keep us in silence, right? So if I take an audio content like we're talking now, and after this, maybe I recorded it, and I go and edit it, cut it into places I like, I can remove it, join it, and I release it, it does not fully represent the context of the conversation. Context is missing. And in that case, it is not a deep fake, because I have not generated that thing by using AI. I have simply done it by editing the context of an audio conversation.
So that's just regular editing.
Okay.
Exactly, which is regular editing. So to Nigerians who are listening, you have to, number one, you see all these things, some people post things on a group and they say, share it now, otherwise in 3 days, your miracle will not happen. Listen, you don't share things randomly. You have to, there are things called, I understand that our institutions are like, and this is again where I come in, institutions need to be up and running. They need to do their job, right? If you've not confirmed that this thing is coming from a factual, like you've mentioned, you went to INEC and you looked at the INEC Twitter to see if they are the ones actually saying this thing. If you've not confirmed that these things are coming from credible, reliable sources, there is no need for you to share it. If it sounds too good to be true, then it's likely not true. That's the basic thing. And somebody asked me last night, so how do you,
Mr. Samuel?
Yeah.
Yes, please. We are nearing our time to round up the program, but there is something I need to quickly know. Now, you told us about the facility that can work for audio that you think there was that was used to, deepware. Yeah, deepware.
Yes.
That was used to actually verify if the audio was true. That there's something that can work for video and it was missed. What about the one that can work for audio? Is there a name?
Now, that's actually the dangerous part of what is happening now, because right now there is no known tool for identifying an audio deepfake. The only way you identify an audio
in communication science,
yes, the only way you do it is by vocal analysis, right? And it's a very arduous process. It's not something you think you just get an audio and you pass it through it, and in 5 minutes it tells you bam. No, it's a very arduous, it's called vocal analysis. And this is the idea is that humans, anything generated by a human, anything that you do with your hands, right, you leave what is called digital footprints. What is digital footprints? There are things a human being would do on a digital space. You will know it is a human being. But if a machine does it, a machine will not encounter all those hiccups. So think of the way I am talking. My vocal cords are emitting the sounds. If any human being talks, you can sense that there is a vocal, that vocal sound can be analyzed, right? If a machine makes that same sound, the vocal restrictions in terms of airflow that happens to me as a human would be totally non-existent if it is coming from a machine, right? And as of now, the only way to know an audio deepfake is through vocal analysis, and it's not a simple process you do overnight, right? And that's dangerous, and that is where we human beings, and most times,
and that's you said there is no machine that can do this. That means this can only be done by humans.
Exactly. It can be done by softwares, but it's like a lab. You go through audios, forensic analysis, and all that kind of stuff, and it takes time, it takes resource as well. The only thing I would tell people listening now is that when you see any content, be it text, be it audio, be it video, let your human perception be alive. You need to mistrust your own eyes at the first time you see it. Mistrust your own eyes. You look at a video, for instance, of a government person appearing on your screen, and the top of the head is cut off from the video. Why would any professional video person for a government person be doing a video in such a way that his principal's head has been cut off from the video, and you are listening to the content of the video? Why? Because it shows you could literally see the handwriting on the video that this thing doesn't look real. And then you're looking at the jaw, the mouth is moving somehow, one eye is like this, the other one, and you're still believing the video you're looking at. It's looking blurry, you're still believing the video you're looking at. So trust your human perception will tell you when you read a thing, or when you hear a thing, or when you see a thing. Is this thing possible? Okay, let me hold on, let me investigate further. Don't just share. Don't just share.
All right. Samuel Nzekwe is a tech journalist and a software engineer, and we've looked at we've looked at fake news, propaganda, and artificial intelligence. Thank you so much for your time, but Samuel, our time is so very much fast spent, and it's not enough concerning what we really intend to look at, how broad we should look at it. So I'm going to have to bring you back on the program again, maybe sometime next week, so we can continue this conversation and bring more light and expose to our listeners at home.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for your time, Samuel. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. And that's where we draw the curtain today on record. I believe you've had a good listening time to this program. Let's go. I wanted to say let's go on a break, but this is where we draw the curtain. And we'll come your way again tomorrow in another wonderful episode of On Record. Good morning. I'm Oyin Priye Krumale.
I'm Esther Kalu.
Welcome to